Everybody, thanks for watching. Now, we're getting ready for the inauguration of President-elect Donald Trump, and a lot of people is worried, of course, and concerned about what Trump is going to do and how he's going to be as president. And people are basically saying the same stuff that they said when Bush got elected. And people were saying, Bush might be okay. His dad wasn't that bad, and he might be a good president. And it's the same stuff over and over again. It's weird how people by now, 8 years of Obama ran on change, and we obviously did not see this change. If the 8 years, the 2 terms of Obama didn't convince you now that the presidency is a puppet post and it's bullshit, then nothing will, especially if you African American. You have so many black people running around saying they're going to miss Obama, and Obama was great. He was the best president and this and that. And we can't point to anything to see what Obama did for African American people, because he didn't do shit. Under Obama, under the 8 years he has been president, more black people has been killed by cops in all of 1950, 60, and 70. So listen, under Obama, we had more unarmed black people killed by white cops than all of the unarmed black people killed by cops in the 1950s, 60s, and 70s combined. And it's supposed to be the first black African American president who did absolutely nothing to protect the people. And, most black people take Obama as this consolation prize, and some people think he's just awesome because he's black, and they're not paying attention to the politics and who Obama, specifically represented on his presidency, which is basically the wealthy, Wall Street. He took care of every other people except for African American people. Even the lesbian and gay community got laws passed for them, but nothing was done to protect black people who was being slaughtered during his time as president. And, we see that clear as day. And I know a lot of people say they're going to miss Obama. They're going to miss, whatever they believe that he did. But I'm definitely glad he's going to be out, because it seems like under his watch, black people don't stand a chance to survive the way that they are being slaughtered by cops and the way that nothing is being done. You mean to tell me the president cannot look into this stuff deeper when you have so many people being killed by cops unarmed, that this is obviously something that needs to be looked into deeper, and something should have been done. Laws should have been passed to protect the people, but he did nothing but talk. Now, we are now so driven by social media, and you have so many people out there who have no fucking life that they absolutely believe everything that the news say, and they rely on news media and what the news reports in order for them to basically have anything to speak about. So when the news talks about something, this is where they go to post it on YouTube or post it on Facebook or what have you, blog about it, to speak on things. The news give us this information. It's up to us to decide whether it's actually true or not, or valid. But some people need this stuff for social media, and it's just the way things are being driven right now. So you have a news media that basically takes a cop killing an unarmed black person, and they blow it up, and they post the news out there, and people take this news and they post it on their timeline, and they talk about it because they have nothing else to do with their fucking life. And they talk about it, and they share the information, and it goes viral, and everybody's talking about it. Meanwhile, the news media is interjecting race into the whole thing. And this is what you have to realize. This whole thing is a setup. It's all designed this way. And you have to understand that it has to be an unarmed black person. It's just that simple. To get the kind of response that they're trying to get from the African American community, it has to be an unarmed black person, because if it's a black person with a gun, then black people are just going to say, oh, well, that nigga was tripping. Oh, well, the cop did what he felt he had to do to protect himself. We're not going to look at it the same as it being an unarmed black person. So they have to make sure, which is why all these cases we're seeing, for some reason, all the time, unarmed black person, unarmed black man. If he had a gun, we wouldn't be tripping. And they couldn't get the kind of response that they're getting from us if it was a black person with a gun or a Latino with a gun, Hispanic or what have you with a gun. So this is all geared towards driving this whole racial tension that the media has created. And it is the media that is clear as day behind all of the racial tension in America. They are the ones who are sparking it and starting the whole thing. And now you get people not even looking at the facts or considering the victims, and they drive this whole thing. Well, maybe he got what he deserved. And well, you have racist people saying, well, you know what, maybe he deserved it. And what are you black people arguing about or getting upset about? You kill each other anyway. So one of the things that Donald Trump did, running for president, he ran on this whole race thing. And we have been seeing it ever since Obama took office in 2008. Right before that, when you had Oscar Grant get killed. And then, Trayvon Martin thing took place and so on and so forth, all of the killings. And the media has been driving home this whole racial tension and this whole racial issue that has been sparked in America, that the media is feeding to the people, and people who want to feed off of it is feeding off of it. People who want to be, popular in social media and have a lot of people talking and blogging about what they're speaking about is feeding off of it. And it is the root cause of all the racial tension in America. And, you have the media and Donald Trump bringing out basically racism that, for a long time, a lot of white people were scared to really speak about how they truly felt. And we understand as black people, the emotion, the feeling, the image they get of black people, they are only getting from what the news media is putting out there, which is a negative view of African Americans. Now, after 9/11, if you don't know by now that we cannot trust the news media, then you haven't been paying attention. I mean, it is clear that they are owned and bought by the same people who is running the oppression of African American people, and who is controlling the structure and how America is basically run. They are not going to tell you what you're supposed to know. Everything that they tell you is what they want you to know. And it's what you have to understand, that they're clearly not going to give you the truth, and they see things the way that they want to see things. And that's how they're going to report it to the people clearly. So a lot of people still have this faith and this trust in the news media. Me, myself, I don't trust them to tell me the time or even the weather or the traffic report. I do all that stuff on my own. These people are crooks. And that was clearly shown during the whole episode, the whole thing that happened with 9/11 and, the days leading up to it and the days after it, how they handled the whole situation and clearly lied to the American people about what was going on. And they had to be in on the whole entire thing, as that has been proven basically. And a lot of people don't realize that because they don't look into it. Again, a lot of people rather just keep their head down and work and make their money and shut up and allow the government to run all over everybody as long as they are not touched. And this is what we see largely from most of America, that they are willing to let the government do whatever they want to do to anybody they want to do it to, as long as they don't touch them. And they're not realizing that eventually it's going to affect you as well as everybody else. So again, the media, it's bullshit, it's controlled. And, Dr. King's birthday just passed, and it's the perfect opportunity and the perfect example to use on how the media basically is never going to tell you anything that is of real importance to the American people, or to black people, of course, or to white people or anybody. If it's going to help us, they're not going to give us the truth. So Dr. King's birthday passed. And what a lot of people still do not realize to this day is that in 1999, the King family successfully won a civil suit against Lloyd George, responsible for the King assassination, as well as the government. The King family won a successful civil suit against the Lloyd George and the government, and they was found guilty. The American government, understand this, the government was found guilty in the death of Dr. Martin Luther King. And when you read, because a lot of people don't think this is true because the news didn't really report on it, but they missed it. The news did briefly report on it, as I'll show in a little bit. The news did briefly report on it and put out the article on it. And they talked for probably 60, maybe 80 seconds about the case, and then it was drowned out because they kind of started to get back into the whole JonBenet Ramsey thing, and that's what they used to cover it up. And but in 1999, they was found guilty in the death of Dr. Martin Luther King. And the King family was awarded a whopping $100. And obviously, it wasn't about the money. It was basically about proving, because when you read the transcript, which I'll put in the description where you can read it, the evidence is overwhelming. You had over 70 witnesses, and the evidence is clear that the government was a part of the assassination of Dr. King. Now, I'm going to read a little bit of the transcript here where the verdict was reached. It says here, the court: I have authorized this gentleman here to take one picture of you, which I'm going to have developed and make copies and send to you as I promised. Because, you know, when you go and read the transcript, they basically wanted pictures. The whole jury, they didn't want nobody else to have a picture. Okay. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, let me ask you, do all of you agree with this verdict? The jury, in unison, yes. The court: in answer to the question, did Lloyd Jowers participate in this is just code right here, I'm not even going to go through this, participate in a conspiracy to do harm to Dr. Martin Luther King? Your answer is yes. Do you also find that others, including governmental agencies, were parties to this conspiracy as alleged by the defendant? Your answer to that one is also yes. And the total amount of damages you find for the plaintiffs entitled to is $100. Is that your verdict? And the verdict was yes. You can go through and read the entire transcript. It's like 2,000 pages. It's a lot of unbelievably damning evidence that not just goes into the King case, but JFK as well. And that's another thing that they haven't released yet. It's the official transcript and all the evidence on the JFK case that I think it was supposed to come out in 2013, but they pushed it back again, and they're probably not going to release it ever. So we're not ever going to know, but they know how that whole thing worked out. All the proof and evidence is out there about who killed JFK as well. So you have clear as day. I mean, let that sink in. I mean, they killed King. There's no way around that. It's proven that they killed them. So again, you basically had absolutely diddly as far as a real, true coverage, media coverage of this civil trial of the King family against Lloyd Jowers and the government. So we go to Colin Kaepernick taking a knee, refusing to basically take part in the national anthem because he was protesting police brutality and what have you. And we talking about weeks of coverage. Every time a team went through the national anthem, they had the cameras pointed. Every news media outlet was talking about this. Colin Kaepernick, taking a knee. But Dr. King, his assassination, his trial, everything that entails was not covered. This tells you that the media obviously is not going to get into that, into anything that has them into the powers that be in a compromising position. Now, if you go back and look at the trial, the case of Mumia Abu-Jamal from Philly, him supposedly had killing this cop, the media covered it like crazy. They talked about it. It was in the papers. It was all over the place, especially since he represented himself. He represented himself as he was his own lawyer in the trial. So that was all over the place. The OJ trial, I mean, come on. A black man killing two white people. They blew that up, and they still talking about the whole OJ thing now. We just had a whole series come out, and now it's a new thing that just came out about OJ supposed to might be innocent. So they still on the OJ shit. But you had, when the OJ trial came out, it was all over TV like it was a damn sitcom. The verdict was seen by over 140 million people. The media consistently covered the OJ trial. Plain and simple. They was on it. But we're talking about Dr. King, who we have a national holiday to observe, his birthday, to observe, what he did. We have Black History Month, the whole month of February. I mean, and you don't think that this was supposed to be covered. But this tells you that they will never show you anything that's going to go against the powers that be, because the powers that be is running, they own the news media. It's just that simple. So when you go back and just look at that time now, this is the CBS report right here. Take a look at it. And CBS did talk about it. Fox, I remember seeing it on Fox personally. Fox News briefly talking about the case. And they said nothing about the government. When Fox News talked about it, they only talked about Lloyd Jowers. They didn't say that the government was involved. But we know when we go and read the whole transcript in the case, we see that they was the government was implicated. Government agencies such as the FBI, what have you, was implicated in the case as well. And it was all found guilty. But why didn't the media really get into the story? And, what is the logic behind that? Now, we know why they really didn't tell people. But, they probably felt like, well, maybe black people are going to riot and it's going to be crazy. A lot of people are going to be pissed off, or maybe a lot of people are going to lose faith in the American government and see the American government for what it really is, which is crooked. And they probably scared, that there's going to be riots and they had to call out the National Guard. But what do you think is going to happen if you keep showing black people getting killed, unarmed black people getting killed by white police officers? So we know they can't be worried about a damn riot, because that's definitely what they already had. Keep showing, black people getting killed by these white cops. We marched and we protested, but they made sure there was no extensive media coverage of the King civil trial, and they didn't put it out. They didn't really get into it because they knew exactly what they was doing. The King family had the government by the balls, which is a rare thing when it happens. And of course, they couldn't just wipe out the entire King family, because that would have been too suspect, especially since it was a civil trial on the line. So they covered it up, of course, but they had them by the balls. Plain and simple, the King family didn't blow it up as much as they should have, but they just wanted to get a guilty verdict and to have it on record, I guess, for the world to see. But they had them by the balls clearly. So, when you look at it, it's no extensive media coverage at all. There was no public apology, from the government about the assassination of King. No march, no protests, no people in the streets. No uproar, no CNN situation room, or, none of that happened with the assassination of King. And it was revisited again in 2013. I believe it was in 2012 when they started talking about it again briefly. And they covered it up with the same shit, bringing back the whole JonBenet Ramsey. If you remember that a couple years ago, remember when they all of a sudden started talking about the JonBenet Ramsey case again? That was the same time they revisited the King case. And it was I think they was trying to get more money out of the government, which I think they end up doing like behind closed doors. But they covered it up. And, we get called so much shit, and everything that we have been able to prove as African-American people, as far as what we say, the government being crooked and, white supremacy and everything like that, is still not taken as seriously, as it should be. Now, when I say, no media coverage, no uproar or what have you, I'm talking to African-American people as well. All these people, this whole Black Lives Matter and all these people who organize these marches and protests, it still has been no major protests about the assassination of Dr. King. I'm talking about in the size to bring it to the media attention, to where it cannot be ignored on social media or anywhere else. The government killed Dr. King. It's just that simple. And it was willing to kill even more black people, because remember, after King was assassinated, after it got out to the general public, there was riots. They had called over 4,000 National Guard troops. There was martial law in America. It was a curfew was enforced. Martial law in America after King's death. So they was poised and ready that if black people got out of control or got too pissed off about, the assassination, they was willing to kill more African-American people. And, it would have been all over the news.